Welcome inside the booth. I'm Joel Klatt. This is brought to you by Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. What an amazing comeback for the USC Trojans here at home in the Pac-12 opener, Pac-12 before brunch, folks. What amazing exposure for these programs. I'm going to start there. I know that there was some shade thrown around the college football landscape, even on Monday night, about this kick time of 9 a.m. local. But let me tell you right now, this was great exposure for both of these programs, and they desperately needed it. USC's coming off a year in which they recruited as poor as they've ever recruited in their history. And this year, they need some of this exposure. They need exposure for the new coaches that they had on the defensive side, for Clay Helton, kind of this rebirth for him as they have put confidence in him and more resources behind him within this program. They've got a top 10 recruiting class right now. They've got 6 of the top 25 California recruits committed to them. They're in the mix with the 3 other guys. This is a big deal to be on network television right in the middle of the day, which is going to get multiple million people watching. I think it was also important for ASU. Herm Edwards needs this type of exposure, not just at 1 a.m. Eastern time. You know, Pac-12 After Dark is all fun and games, but it's really for the blue checks on Twitter, and it's a punchline, to be honest with you, because we see the ratings. This was great exposure for both of these programs, and I'm happy for them because they're going to deserve it. Kids are going to look at now Arizona State, and they're going to say, what's Herm Edwards offering? Can I go play for Marvin Lewis and Antonio Pierce and Zach Hill, the offensive coordinator? Can I be a great wide receiver for them, which they clearly were missing when Craig Darby went down. So starting right there, I thought that the kick time was fantastic. The rain stayed away, and all around it was a huge win, in particular from an exposure standpoint for a conference that needs exposure and 2 programs that need it desperately right now in where they're at. Now we move to the actual game. I'm going to start with the fact that I thought ASU did a lot of things well, okay? And I talked about it at length throughout the broadcast. I thought Jaden Daniels played well. Their running backs, who were inexperienced, none of them had a touch in Power 5 major college football, and they came in and played really well. Rashad White, he's a smooth, slashing-style player that can catch it well out of the backfield. They've got a really good player in him. You've got Chip Trainum, who from Ohio, a 4-star running back. I thought he was outstanding. He provides some heaviness and some thump in the run game, but it's not just that, because he was able to establish himself on the outside, run and get to the corner. He showed some speed, and then when it came time to lower his shoulder, he certainly had that ability as well. If they don't get Frank Darby back quickly, who left this game with kind of a rib midsection injury, then they're going to be hurting, because on the outside, they did not have their best stuff. Remember, in the last 2 years, they lost 2 first-round wide receivers to the NFL draft, N'Keal Harry and then Brandon Ayuk last year. And now you step into this game, and Frank Darby's supposed to be that number 1 guy, and when he wasn't on the field, they didn't really have anybody to throw to. You saw that late when they could have driven down the field and gotten a field goal to win the game. They didn't have a go-to guy. That's what you're going to be looking at moving forward for them. Defensively, I thought the game plan was tremendous for the bulk of this game. They outcoached the USC coaching staff, and it almost paid off for them, but there was just a couple of plays that USC was able to make to win the football game. If you're a USC fan, that probably felt a lot like last year for the bulk of the game. But here's the difference. In this ball game, they were able to run it just enough, right? Last year, they averaged about 120, 130 yards of rushing per game. Now, they need to do better on first down, certainly, in particular when defenses are just going to have that soft coverage, which is very tough to throw the football against when you're throwing the air raid style of passing game. They've got to run it better on first down. But if you really think about it, some of those drives that they were able to get down the field, what did they do on first down? They ran the football better. The health of their running backs, the physicality of what they've got up front should be better than last year. And as evidence, they ran the football much better than they did a year ago. In fact, they ran it for 175 yards in this ball game. That's a quality growth from them from a year ago. Then the passing game. The passing game was stymied for most of the day. I know they got their yardage, but it was check down after check down after check down, and there was a frustration about the passing game, clearly, because they didn't get their shots. They didn't get to St. Brown quite enough. But Drake London had a marvelous game. I think he's the type of guy that could have a big season. Remember now, there's enough catches to go around in this offense. And this offense really believes not in balance as far as run and pass, but balance as far as who's getting touches and how many. You know, are all 5 skilled position players getting requisite touches so that they can be a threat to the defense? And from that standpoint, I think that you would have to say it was a bit of a success. Drake London certainly emerged as a guy that could be a focal point in this offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I love his game. Obviously, he's going to get his no matter what, and then Brew McCoy comes up with a big touchdown. You do have to give USC a lot of credit because it looked like a game that they would have lost a year ago. The multiple turnovers, they weren't playing great up front, protecting the quarterback. Slovis was holding the football a little bit. You know, it was hard and methodic, and you couldn't get going against that zone defense, and they certainly are going to have to figure out a way to beat that because they're going to see it moving forward, but they ended up doing it, all right? They made the plays when they needed to, and it was smart plays from the quarterback. And I'll just sit right there. Keaton Slovis is a really smart player, all right? I know he forced the football a couple of times, and he got picked off, but you want your quarterback to be aggressive. He did a couple of things late that were just incredibly smart. First of all, he gets ASU to jump offside, and what does he do? He immediately takes a shot, knowing that a score as quickly as possible is most advantageous when you've got a multiple possession deficit. And he goes right to the end zone. Ball gets tipped up. Brew McCoy catches it. Boom, here we go. Now you've got the onside kick. It's just a total crapshoot, flip of the coin. They get it. All right, and then he goes down the field. Run game, and then ultimately on fourth down, he made the play of the game. He moves the safety off the hash with his eyes, opening up the seam of the defense in the middle, and boom, he exploits it. Drake London, great catch, strong hands. USC gets the win. They probably shouldn't have, but that's a good thing, Trojan fans, right? This is a game that you would have lost a year ago, and you made the requisite plays late in order to survive. A win is a win at this point in the college football season. They haven't played a game in almost 300 days. They finally get out here. It was very sloppy for the Trojans, but they're 1-0. All right? You would much rather that than playing really well, having a lot of things to build on, but being 0-1. Meanwhile, around college football, folks, Michigan is in one right now. They are driving the struggle bus. What we saw week one against Minnesota has not come to fruition whatsoever. Even Michigan State not handling their business a week after a big win. Iowa was up huge on them at halftime. I do have to give a shout-out to Northwestern, by the way. 3-0, the Northwestern Wildcats. Quietly, Pat Fitzgerald. Why do we ever underestimate Pat Fitzgerald? He's one of the best coaches in America. Wildcat fans, you have a great coach in Pat Fitzgerald. They made some changes in the offseason to their offensive coaching staff. They've got some players in there, and here they are, 3-0, and in a year in which Wisconsin may not even qualify for the Big Ten championship game because they may not even get to the requisite number of games, why couldn't it be Northwestern? We just saw them 2 years ago in that game against Ohio State. Maybe it's Northwestern's turn to win that West Division in the Big Ten. That'll be interesting to see moving forward. Can't wait for the games tonight, and if they're anything like this one, I think that we're all in for a big treat. Kudos to both teams. Again, I thought Herm Edwards' bunch played really well for Arizona State, but you got to credit Clay Helton and what they were able to do late to finally get that victory, a game in which they would have lost last year, and they're able to go out there and get the win. This has been In the Booth. I'm Joel Klatt. This show, as always, is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. It is the official drink of Fansville.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here. College Football on Fox.